You are listening to the Chompcast. My name is Morgan Barnes, and I'm joined by my close friends and fellow co-hosts here at Sword Chomp, Joshua Fowler.
Hey guys.
Shay Layton.
Hello.
And Anthony Fisher.
Hello.
And we have gathered here today for our 8th official podcast to talk about our two main headlining games today, two big games of the year, Abzu and Oxenfree. And we have some interesting news on this shorter podcast revolving around Cuphead and EVE Online and some other things that might come up. So it should be a really fun show, but I wanted to introduce our listeners to the crew, get to some real introductions here, some proper voice recognition. Josh, how are you doing this week? You got your brand new mic set up?
I'm doing pretty well. Yeah, it's just me at the house still. Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. I feel like I'm about to lose my voice though, so I'll have to tone it down on letting you know how it really is on some of these games.
All right, yeah, well, you can tone it down if you need to, but we want that. We want the normal hate soup that you bring. So promise us that. But it sounds good. It sounds great so far. And Shay Layton, who just messaged me that we forgot to mention Saga Frontier in the opening. How are you doing this week, Shay?
I'm good. I am actually really excited for the show because I know there's going to be so much hate soup that there's going to be leftovers for everyone.
It's going to be like it was in the Bible where they fed everyone with the loaves and the fish, but with hate soup, something like that.
What's the Bible?
And moving on to Anthony Fisher. How are you doing this week, Fish?
Pretty good. I'm looking forward to a nice big bowl of that hate soup. Sounds very appetizing.
You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it, Fish.
Well, and what we're referring to, sort of this morning, we were kind of talking. We have sort of a private Sword Chomp chat among friends, and we started talking about Abzu, and it got a little contentious, so to speak. Which is the first game we're going to talk about today. And yes, Shay, I promise we will talk about Saga Frontier. I will not rip you off there.
Thank you.
I legitimately just forgot it. So that's an old school game that we were playing as Shay. Every now and then we go back and play a game for someone on the crew if it means a lot to them, just to have some interesting perspective on it. And that was a game that me and Josh had never played before. So we'll throw that in there before the news. It should be fun to talk about. But I think Abzu, we got to get right to it at this point. We're on a little bit of a time crunch today, and we've been excited all day to talk about Abzu. It's going to be eligible for a game of your discussion for some of.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Eligible is the key word there. It was released back on August 2nd of this year, and its developer Giant Squid has some remnants actually from that game company who made Journey. Giant Squid is the developer. Big game. It's on Windows and PlayStation 4. Of course, a lot of us got it on Steam. And that is going to be the first game that we talk about today. So I don't know, like just giving the game a nice introduction there, kind of throwing this out there. We've been going back and forth. Fish just finished it last night. Sort of an opening thought here, Josh. I thought this game would be tailored toward you, knowing how much you love Journey. Doesn't sound like you're all that impressed with it. What's going on?
Not really. I think part of it's the aesthetic. It just kind of feels like a beach tourist trap type. I mean, it's underwater, and that's fine. I don't know. It didn't feel original in any way. It's technically really gorgeous, but I just was not feeling any of it.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way about that, Josh. Like, I feel like it's kind of going off the success of Journey in a way, because they're both like set in like, you sit down and play the game in a 2-hour sitting, and they both kind of go through the same motion of having this character that doesn't have a voice. You're given kind of the same type of beautiful landscape to look at, but you're just kind of like wandering through this linear type of path, and almost more linear, I would say, in Abzu, because they present like there's you're essentially going through the currents in this game, and you're like exploring different areas of the ocean, and they present, like the depths of the ocean and everything, and they do a good job of capturing it, um, as far as like giving you that sense of, you're swimming out in the ocean, with all these different fishes and whales and sharks and whatnot. I think they do a good job of doing that. But as
Yeah.
far as like the gameplay goes, like it's almost like just copying, piggybacking off of Journey, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, so the interesting thing there, and the reason why we're mentioning Journey so much, like this game is the creative designer behind Abzu was Matt Nava. So Matt Nava was actually the art. He was behind the art of Journey, sort of the art director for Journey, and that's why you see a lot of the similar thing. The art style of the game is very reminiscent of Journey. And so that's another reason why we're going to bring it up. And they also designed the game sort of in the similar vein of Journey. Even the way you start the game, sort of the overall sense you get when you're playing it is, like Fish is saying, piggybacking off of Journey. Whether you think that's a good or a bad thing. But that's why we're going to bring that up a lot. I had kind of the opposite first impression. I guess mine was pretty good. I wasn't expecting a lot from it. And I remember just sitting down, and the opening screen is just a sort of beautiful cell-shaded, sort of alien-looking diver guy just floating there in the water, and it just said Abzu, and it was just go. It pressed R2 to dive, and all of a sudden I'm underwater in this beautiful world, and I was off. So I had a pretty good first impression. I'm surprised, Josh, that you would say it felt touristy. I mean, because it's like kind of cell-shaded and beautiful, and like, what about when you say touristy? Like, what do you mean?
I guess just sort of the overall feeling I got was like it was trying to be magical, but not quite getting there. Like most of the locations you're in end up feeling kind of claustrophobic, like you're swimming around and you're supposed to have all this freedom of movement, but there's basically a point you can see at every level that you swim to, and swimming, like the motion in this game is still not it's not good. Like you move forward by holding down a trigger, and so you basically point yourself where you're supposed to go and then sit there with the trigger held down until you get there. I don't know. I was. Yeah, it felt very on rails compared to Journey, and that game is still fairly linear, but I didn't feel like I was as boxed in that game.
Yeah, I had troubles with the controls myself. It took me a while to get down the kind of flight simulator type of controls where up is down and down is up. And um, I played it on the mouse and keyboard, and it's a little finicky, and like I felt like I didn't always have precise control. Like there's parts in the game where like you find a jet stream of fish just like in a jet stream of water, and you kind of like you start zooming through there, kind of same as sliding down a sand dune in Journey, where you have those moments where you're sliding through the ruins and everything. Well, in Abzu, they have that same type of I guess gameplay mechanic where you're swimming through this jet stream, and it feels real cool, but like I felt like I wasn't able to, like, because there's fishes that you like kind of ping, I guess, or like swim next to, and like they'll give you a little boost through there and give you that cool sense of.
Are you talking about the ones that you like grab onto with the L2 and like kind of float with them?
No, it's whenever those jet streams. It's there. I think there's 2 or 3 of them in the game.
Oh,
where,
just the sort of like transitional section of the game where you get into sort of a non-playable kind of jet stream.
Yeah,
Sort of, yeah.
when Kratos dives into hell, and you avoid crap.
Oh, just like that. Okay,
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it felt just like that. There was moments where like you were actually like going up through a tunnel, and you weren't necessarily dodging stuff, and it just didn't feel like a complete like gameplay mechanic to me. Like as far as it was just more of like an experience, just that feeling of rushing through the water with all these fishes.
Yeah, I mean, Here's where I think the game succeeded for me and also sort of had trouble succeeding at the same time. I will concede. On one hand, I like that they kept the game more straightforward because conceptually, these games don't want to be the AAA game. They don't want to have combat and loot and all those things like Journey was trying to do. But one of the things that small points of I really like Journey. I don't have anything against it. I may not have been on as high on Journey as you guys were, but I still think it's a very beautiful little game. I really do. My only small points of contention with Journey where there was these like weird sections of frustration where you were like they wanted to implement gameplay into it, yet at the same time they were trying to make a transcendent game. And I thought they kind of would like there's a part in Journey where you had to like sort of awkwardly jump from like seaweed to seaweed. There was like parts where I could climb certain small rocks by just holding up to them, but some of them were just too high and I'd have to, just weird little things. There was like this one part where you have to find a way to kind of just perfectly launch yourself through this little hole. They're not big deals at all. But conceptually, I liked that they tried to, I don't want to say dumb this game down, but just streamline it because they said this game is not going to be like those other games. So we might as well conceptually just keep it simple.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, like the concept of it. Uh, I don't know. I just really like I guess the story definitely. Um, I guess their way of telling a story through like I guess the landscapes and paintings on the walls. I definitely like that both in Abzu and Journey. Just the
Yeah.
way they do it, it's kind of cryptic, I guess, in a way. It leaves it up to your imagination to kind of figure out what's going on in the world and why exactly you're going through the sea, trying to discover, or just going through it. And I guess essentially they don't really tell you what you have to do, but that's part of the game is you're just exploring all these different locations and solving pretty simple puzzles. Like I wouldn't even consider them puzzles, but um, that's one thing that I kind of missed from Journey was Journey had a little bit more complicated puzzles than Abzu. Abzu, I feel like there was nothing that really uh, took much for me to actually solve. It was just a straight run through for me.
Yeah, I'm assuming that was the issue that you had with it, Josh, was just that was there just not like enough going on for you as far as the
Yeah, there's almost no gameplay with the issues with the controls being there that you're swimming, and so I mean, in a way, it controls more like Flower, but without the motion controls to make you actually feel connected to the motion. So it's basically like if you played Flower with just a joystick, which if that game came out that way, I probably would have hated it. But yeah, it's like you end up pointing your character one direction and then just sitting there holding down a trigger for the entire rest of the level, and then it's just rinse and repeat for the entire game.
I mean, yeah, that's a tricky part. I mean, I will concede that even though I enjoyed it because I just think the act of swimming is fun for me and it was simple enough conceptually to make a game this simple. But people could get hung up on that. I mean, it's just like Fish saying there's times where he was discombobulated. There was times where I was a little discombobulated and I actually enjoyed it. It's as simple as it is. It's still there's moments where it can be a little I guess unintuitive, but yeah. It's like I was thinking about this today. It's like if you ever played a swimming game, Josh, in any sort of swimming section in like a adventure game, and then basing a whole game around that idea of just swimming. You know what I mean? And swimming sections are probably some people's least favorite parts of a lot of games, depending on where you fall on that.
Yeah, they're definitely done with very mixed results depending on the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But I mean, besides that, though, they did have a few issues with the controls. More so the way they.